One thing that I really would love for the ACL community is if we could have a skilled group of lay people who are skilled in loving others when they're in pain, not as a part of a clinical responsibility or a duty of care to your clients, but they're skilled in loving because of that gift of the human condition that we all have to love others and to love ourselves.
You are about to listen to part of a series where every other week, a leader from our community shares with us a little about themselves, how they came to find out about the ACL Global Project, as well as what drives them to do the work that they do, and perhaps even a bit about their hopes and dreams. This is the ACL Member Spotlight series, and in today's episode, we are featuring Ben Spallis.
My name is Ben Spallis. I'm 21 years old. I'm currently living in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania. I go to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte. I just took a major in psychology, no minor. Most of the studying I do is outside of school. I'm taking all my classes online right now, taking 22 credit hours, and then I'll graduate in years as a junior, but I'm technically in credits on my senior year. I've been part of Association for Contextual Behavioral Sciences for a little while now. It's a research organization. That's where acceptance and commitment therapy came from, and RFT and stuff like that. And functional analytic psychotherapy is part of that community. I met Mavis and heard about ACL by going into the laying in ceremony for Bob Kohlenberg, who I did not know, and I didn't know who Mavis was until that moment. So that was a very weird thing. Bob Kohlenberg was a legend in the contextual behavioral sciences community and was very well loved. The reason I was there is because they were sending out that link very widely because so many people knew him. And so I was like, wow, this is interesting. Like, I wonder who this person is. No idea what FAP was, no idea who Mavis was. I came in just being curious because it was an open link. And I came out 3 hours later grieving this hero that I didn't know I lost. I had lit a candle during that funeral, and that was a massive candle too. That thing was going for 24 hours or something straight. And then I lit another one, and they played Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen, and I kept that song going even after the ceremony ended. I was very moved, so much so that I made a recording of how powerful and impactful that experience was for me. Barbara saw it, who's the daughter of Bob, and sent it to Mavis, and that's how Mavis and I got to know each other. I think grief is a special thing. I think part of loving is pleasure and purpose, but part of loving is also pain. And I don't want to grieve. I don't want to see people die. I don't want to feel sad for things, but I feel drawn to it, not because I want these things, but because I know that if I'm not feeling these things, then I'm missing out on opportunities to love. And the thing that was really special about being able to love when I witnessed this laying in ceremony is there was hundreds of people pouring into that Zoom meeting, and every single one of them were moved. Every single one of them were in tears because of how much Bob had loved them and they loved him. And so I remember leaving that meeting thinking, if I, throughout my lifetime, put in half the amount of love that I got to see during that meeting, then I've lived a good life and I've done a good thing. In therapy, there's exercises where people are trying to imagine what that funeral is going to be like and what you would want to stand for, because it's such a sacred moment and it really connects you to your values and it connects you to what really matters in life. That was very much what that experience was for me, is seeing someone who really lived by the values that I would like to live by and had the kind of laying in ceremony that if I had for myself, then I've lived a good life. I've been working with Mavis for the past year and a half on translating and defining what the ACL model is. So I've spent a lot of time trying to learn about ACL from FAP. One thing that I found really interesting is the relationship between courage and love, and how they describe that is there's this weird paradoxical space people enter into when they're about to share something that's vulnerable to them. As things become more vulnerable, they become more painful if they were to be rejected or not be seen or not be understood. The more vulnerable the thing that we present is, it's like a gift that would hurt more if it was rejected or not fully received. And so for things that aren't personal, it's okay. We share those things on our introductions because if someone wasn't paying attention or they looked to their clock, That's okay. But if they weren't paying attention to something that was scary for us, we would feel scared. With the weird paradoxical thing with that, though, is that equally, as things become more vulnerable and punishing if they were to be misunderstood, they would also become more fulfilling and meaningful if that gift was received. And we're kind of in a weird space where we can share and we can either risk that being rejected, or we can share and have that be received. And when that goes well, when someone's able to muster up the strength to be able to share the things that are personal to them, and then they're received in a way that's fulfilling and meaningful, those two words that we've come up with to just label that experience is called courage and love. When you list a human being's basic survival needs, you need food, water, shelter, but you don't really list something like courage and love. But I think people in this community know that's important. And that's hard to convey to someone else, such an intangible, nonverbal experience of connection to a group and community that's devoted to it. That's an interesting thing, especially for men. That can be just odd. The training I thought was great. I thought it was very interesting. And it really does, they do a great job preparing you for leading your own meeting. I think more people should try it. I think the biggest thing, though, is not having people take trainings, but it's having people who've taken the training start a meeting. I think that's the biggest hump. One thing I thought would be very cool is getting more people to start their own meetings without the ACL label. We have these vague ideas of what would classify something as courage, like creating possibility. For example, what it really means to say yes when you mean yes, and to say no when you mean no, and not to say yes when you mean no, and not to say no when you mean yes, and not to say either when you mean neither, right? That's a hard skill. How do I know what I feel about this? How do I say yes? How do I say no? How do I cope with the feelings I see on their face when I say no or yes? How do I break that down? That's a hard skill. And there's a lot of things in there. There's a lot of things in the model, like skills like that. And so having a clear source to really go through the most central skills of the ACL model are important, because the most important ACL meetings are not ones with an ACL logo on it, right? The most important ACL meetings that we have are the meetings that we have at our dinner tables with our families, or the nighttime conversations we have in bed with our partners, or the conversations that we have in work between our coworkers and friends. And those are the ACL meetings that really matter the most. And those are the meetings where, if people are empowered to be able to bring and live with ACL, bring that into those conversations, that as a community, we've done a good thing. I think with ACL, what I'd really be excited about is getting therapy skills outside of just the jaws of the clinical psychologist and that kind of sectored off community, but taking the things that can be transferable to the larger community. And the thing that I don't think anything that I just said there, I don't think Mavis has any kind of quarrel with. I think she loves everything I just said, if I were to guess. Sorry, Mavis, if that's wrong. But what I have an attraction to is being with people in suffering. It's like the front line are not the therapists. The front line is the parents of the child when the child says that they're struggling with their body image or whatever it is. Or it's the friend that notices that other friend coming to school isn't talking much and isn't saying much and it's off. And regular human beings do the most alienating and invalidating things. And just because what have they been told? Who tells you how to sit with someone else when they say that they want to kill themselves? Or who teaches you how to be able to respond in a way that isn't invalidating when someone says that they think their body is disgusting and they can't stand the way that they look in the mirror? Your first instinct is to try and save these people, and it's the instinct of the heart that makes so much sense. It's the most valid impulse you have in the world, and if you act on it in the way that everyone else does, you're going to ruin it. You're just going to make this person feel the same way that everyone else has made them feel. And so that's one thing that I really would love for the ACL community, is if we could have a skilled group of lay people who are skilled in loving other people and loving others when they're in pain, and not as a part of a clinical responsibility or a duty of care to your clients, They're skilled in loving because of that gift of the human condition that we all have to love others and to love ourselves. I don't think about it too often. I don't think that's what really guides me. I think that when I was younger, I was so far behind that I had to learn how to love things and do things from a position of not trying to succeed because I had failed so bad already, but more just find things that I find worth doing for myself, find something to fill my own time and be meaningful. And I think that's stayed. I hope. I try and maintain that position when I'm doing things. I think that I try and live a life that I wouldn't regret later on. I try and live a life that would afford a good death, that I loved who I wanted to love, and I was able to receive it when that was given to me. One thing I want to do is I want to be not just a character, an entity, or an organism that goes through life, but that goes through life and really feels it. It's something I like to call full contact living. If a sad thing happens, I'd rather be sad than be stoic. If a happy thing happens, I'd rather be happy than be stoic. But also that you can listen to your heart, look to the horizon, and see what could be possible, and then you take the next step to really move towards that, and that can be scary. And that's a different kind of full contact living. That's even more terrifying because you're really coming in contact with the contingencies that are most important to you, that are daunting and scary. You could call that courage. So maybe a roll your eyes kind of answer is ACL as a definition of success. You're aware of where you're at and where you want to go and what you care about and who's there and what you want to love, and you're aware of the context. And then you create possibility, you take a step forward, you say no to the things that you need to say no to, you say yes to the things that you need to say yes to. And you take a risk, and then you take stock, you look around and you love what can be loved. If it went wrong, then you can love yourself and you can love that you tried. And if it went right, then you can love a million other things in the environment that went right. And try and reinforce that. And you keep that as a practice because you'll know as part of being a human being, you miss the million beautiful things. And so it's just your responsibility to just try and catch as many as you can. And rinse and repeat. And it's not in that order. Mixes. But that's a philosophy.
That was Ben Spellis. And this is the ACL Member Spotlight Series, where every other week we feature another one of our outstanding leaders of the Awareness, Courage, and Love Global Project. Created, edited, and produced by Miko